Welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I'm your host. I'm Darlene Childress, and I am a life and parenting coach. And on today's episode, I'm actually going to combine the two parts of my brain and my skill set from the life coach part and the parent coach part, and sort of put them together because today we're going to be talking about what I call a parenting manifesto. And in my program, in the Calm Mama Club and in my one-on-one programs, when you work with me, you get the Calm Mama Handbook, which is like 100 pages of all my thoughts about parenting all put together in one place. And the first page of it has what I call the Calm Mama Manifesto. And I've kind of designed this manifesto so it looks kind of cool and kind of interesting with different bolded words. And so it's like a word cloud looking thing. And I've always thought, it'd be so cool to get these printed and like you could put it up in your house somewhere or in your desk or whatever. So if you're a member of my newsletter or on my Instagram, you'll see we posted the Calm Mama Manifesto on our social media, on my social media, as well as sent it as a document that you could download in the newsletter, in the email. But essentially, a manifesto, what is that? Okay, so a manifesto is a list of principles to help guide you how you want to live each day. This came to me originally, I realized I actually made a few manifestos in the past, but I didn't call them that. But how this came to me was I was in a business program, a program that teaches you how to run an online business because I'm a good coach, but I didn't know anything about business. So I needed to learn how to do what I do in a way that helps people hire me. And so I took a bunch of different programs throughout the years. And one of the first programs I took, I got a paper, a poster that said the Doer's Manifesto. And it was essentially a guideline for people who were going to create an online business and, promote their business and what they were committed to, and it said things like focus on the task, be willing to fail. I don't even remember what it all said, but kind of those ideas. And I was staring at this for a while and I was thinking, okay, if I have a business manifesto or a work ethic manifesto, why would I not have a parenting manifesto, which is the thing that is the most important thing to me was raising my children. And I wanted to have a list of principles for I wanted to live my life, how I wanted to make sure I was committed to as a parent. So what I did was I just sat down with a piece of paper and I wrote down a list of 20 things that I was committed to as a parent. And that's what I want to invite you to do in this episode. I want you to you can borrow mine for sure. Go to Instagram or download it on the newsletter, whatever. Message the team if you can't get a copy, we'll give you one. So you can copy mine. It's pretty good, and I'm going to read it to you. But you can also spend some time looking at your own life and thinking about what it is that you're committed to as a parent. So this isn't really a family manifesto. It's not like I was saying, as the Childresses, we are committed to taking care of our items or something like that, right? It wasn't anything like we're going to serve as a family or we're going to commit to being kind to each other. This was more for myself, what I was committed to as my kids' moms. Of course, if I made a mistake, if I didn't show up the way I wanted to, I would forgive myself, absolutely. And then remember, wait, no, I have principles, I have values, I have things that are guiding me each day. And so I wrote it up. I made my own manifesto and I called it my Parenting Manifesto. And now this is really the Calm Mama Manifesto in the program. So I'm going to read to you a couple of them just to get your brain going and start thinking about maybe what are your values. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about now that I've kind of raised my kids, what I noticed was missing here. And then because it wasn't what I focused on, it actually didn't happen. Because what you focus on is what you create. What you spend your time thinking about is what you end up doing. And so I just think that's kind of interesting. I'm not beating myself up about it. I just thought, well, what was missing from this list? And then I realized a couple things. And then I'm going to give you some prompts of help you to ask yourself some of these questions. That way you can make your own manifesto. I could have called this the Darlene Manifesto or whatever, but really it was about me being a mom, not a person. Well, I mean, I am a person and a mom, but I wanted to focus on my parenting. Okay. So the first thing that I committed to is that parenting is my opportunity for growth. I wanted to look at this experience of raising children as an opportunity to become a more whole and healed person, to let the learning that I was going to have with my kids, to invite that learning in and not fight against parenting, but realize all these obstacles, they're just opportunities for me to grow and heal. That concept came to me around the time that Lincoln was 4, when I started to explore all these parenting conversations and get parent education. And I was struggling so much as a mom. I was becoming a rageful mom, mad mama. I think I was fighting against the uncertainty and constant work of parenting. I was just frustrated by it. So when I sunk in and realized, this is going to be challenging and this is going to be good, all the things that I'm going to experience while being a parent, they're my opportunity for growth. So that is the top of my manifesto, just kind of framing the entire parenting experience as this way that I can become more whole and more healed. Some of the other commitments I made to my kids was that I would demonstrate love without condition, no matter what they say or do. So this was really important to me because I didn't want to be a parent that only showed love or showed kindness or showed care to my kids only when they were being good, right? I chose to not just ignore their misbehavior and instead see, of course, that feelings drive behavior. And that I would not just love them, but I would demonstrate love. I would take action without condition, no matter what they said or did. I would never pull my love away. So that's a commitment I've made. That's a foundational principle of how I approach parenting. That's the second one, okay? Another one is I would listen with curiosity and compassion. So I wanted to commit to listening to my children, either being curious about their life, their thoughts, being interested in them, finding them fascinating, choosing to think they were interesting so that I could stay curious. Do you hear how I'm saying choosing to think they're interesting? Choosing it. I had to choose to think these are really interesting people. And when I was thinking that, then I was like, oh my gosh, what are they saying? What are they thinking? What's going on in their lives? And I became genuinely curious. And I would listen to them because I wanted to get to know them. So it was listen with curiosity and compassion, really being committed to listening to them from that compassionate place where I could see where are they coming from? What is going on? What lens are they looking at the world through? What is going on that's driving this behavior or whatever they're saying? So listening with curiosity and compassion was another commitment. That was my third one. The fourth one was model, work, play, and rest. So I wanted to be a parent who showed up and showed them what hard work looked like. So I was willing to do hard work and I modeled that. I also was willing to play. I wanted to be playful. I actively chose to be a playful parent. I read books called Playful Parenting and How to Bring More Play. I adopted kind of an idea like that. Like I was a preschool teacher. I was an elementary school teacher. I was like a middle school teacher. I kind of brought in to my parenting some of the strategies that, teachers and camp counselors would do just to connect and play. Of course, I love the outdoors. I love the wilderness. And I love being outside. I love being by the pool. As you guys know, I love being outside and doing all those things. And that's really play for me and rest for me. So I brought my kids into that world of mine. Whatever I did for play, I included them in, starting when they were really little. And then I modeled rest. So I would let my children see me rest. Not as much as I think I could have because they were so rambunctious and wild. But they did see me like, I'm going to lay down for a few minutes, or I'm going to take the week off of work and we're going to just rest and recover. And we chilled out on the weekends a lot. We weren't busy all the time because I wanted to model all three of those things. So that shows my values. I value work, I value play, and I value rest. So I modeled those. That's the fourth one. The next one was what I was willing to provide. So I always say this, that like my job as a parent, and I know I'm going fast. You might need to pause this, but remember, you're going to get this Manifesto. You can download it so you can see it and study it on your own. I'm just kind of going over some of these things that I was committed to so you get the idea of what you're committed to. So what I wanted to do was I always say you give your kids access and opportunity, but we can't make them take the opportunity. So I can give my kids access to piano lessons and the opportunity to learn the piano. I cannot actually make them play the piano. Bong, bong, bong. Like I could put my hands on top of theirs, but I'm just going to expose my children. I'm going to provide for them. So I'm committed to providing obviously food, shelter, education, opportunity, support, advice, guidance, modeling, and love. So I'm going to provide these things. What am I going to provide for my kids? Obviously food, obviously shelter. I could have put healthcare in there, I guess. That one's missing, but whatever you want to write. The next one, this was really important to me because of how I grew up, that my mom she didn't always really take good care of herself, and she allowed her health to deteriorate, in taking care of kids and stress and all that. And then that actually did create problems for me in adulthood because I had this parent who was unwell. And I'm not blaming her, like whatever, it's fine. But I just made a commitment to take care of myself so my kids didn't have to. I just decided I was going to be healthy. I was going to be strong. I was going to eat well. I was going to move my body. I was going to manage my stress, have a good social life, have meaning and purpose in my life, that I was going to take really good care of myself so that I didn't deteriorate as I aged. Now, jury's still out, but so far so good. Another one, I'm committed. I talk about this on the podcast. I will be comfortable with my kids' discomfort. That is a commitment I have made. So it's not just a thing I say all the time, like be comfortable with your kids' discomfort. This is a commitment that I've made, that no matter what is going on for them and how overwhelmed or stressed or terrible they're behaving or sad or mad or hurt or confused, like I am just going to be okay with the mess that they bring to me. That I'm going to be comfortable. I'm not going to let it rile me up or tip me over. I'm just going to stay like an anchor in a storm of their life. And that's what I think about as being comfortable with your discomfort. You could say be an anchor in your emotional storm of life, whatever you want. I also committed to showing up for them, not for me. So I didn't want to make their life about myself. I didn't want to live vicariously through them. I didn't want to make, your grades reflect on me, your behavior. If you're not kind, that means I'm a bad parent. I just really didn't want to create any of that sort of, you should behave because it's good for me. I wanted to just show up for them, not for me. I wanted to parent for them, not because I got something out of it. Like, that there was some sort of tether between how they acted or how they performed and what I would get from that. Now, I know that's really tricky. I could do a whole episode on how to do that. But just sort of unwinding as much as I could that they are an individual separate from me and they have a whole life and a whole set of choices that I actually don't control. I'm letting myself be okay with that. I committed to encouraging their passions as they grew. I didn't even know what that meant. Now that it's all said and done, I'm not even sure what my kids were passionate about. Like, I don't know, Pokemon and Lego and stuff. Like, what were they, like passion for children? I don't know. But as they've gotten older and teenagers, one loves the guitar and one loves fashion. And so I do encourage their passions as they grow. Here's another one that I think is really important, and it's respecting myself and my boundaries. So the more that I respect myself, that I believe that what I want is valuable, what I want is important, and that I am worthy of my boundary, the more inner work I do on my self-worth, the stronger my boundaries are, the stronger my self-respect is. And then I don't have to wait for my children to respect me in order to feel respected. I bring the respect to the relationship, and I hold my boundaries, and I'm committed to those. So that was a commitment. I also am committed to being forgiving of them. So I will forgive them when they make mistakes. And I will also, another one, it says, admit when I'm wrong. So I will admit when I have done something wrong, and I will let them admit it as well and forgive them and not hold it against them. I am committed to speaking kindly. I have actively chosen, I don't swear at my children. I didn't really start swearing in front of them until they were like late teens. I don't insult them. I don't criticize them. I'm not mean. And I just wanted to speak kindly and patiently and loving as much as I possibly could. It's been very rare that I have gone outside that boundary. And I think it's a lot because I just chose, like, I was going to speak kindly to my children. I know you guys do too, but not everybody does. And then this is one that's very unique for me, and I don't think this is true for every parent, but I chose to be 100% honest with my kids. Obviously not about like fairy tales and things like that. I let them have a childhood and let them believe in fantastical things. But I didn't lie to them. So like I wasn't a sneaky mom. I didn't sneak vegetables in brownies or tell them your friend isn't coming because their mom said no. I would just, whatever was going on, I don't have good examples, but I would just say the truth. And that's because from my childhood, I was really wounded by people not being honest with me and telling me what was going on. And as a kid, I knew things were weird and not right, and nobody would talk about it. And so I just kind of chose as a family, we're going to be honest. We're going to put stuff out there. We're going to say how it is. Like Kevin and I were fighting at a certain point in our marriage. It wasn't going well. And I didn't put it on the kids. I just was like narrating. Yep. Your dad and I are in a stressful time. We're working on it. If they said, are you guys going to get divorced? I'd say, I don't know. There's no plan to. There's no intention to do that. And I'm not making any promises. We are going to work as hard as we can. So I just was like really straight up with them. If they asked me a question, I would be honest. I don't know how else to talk about that. This is something I actually have as a value in my work and in my life and with my relationships. And it's radical love, radical grace, and radical listening. So I am willing to go above and beyond to show love where it doesn't even make sense anymore. I'm willing to go above and beyond giving someone grace or the benefit of the doubt or forgiveness or mercy, even when it doesn't even make any sense. Like like they deserve differently. I just choose radical grace, radical love, and radical listening, deep listening on a deep level. What are they saying and then what are they not saying? This is how I do approach my work, even with any of the moms who I work with. I listen to you so carefully, so deeply, with so much love and so much grace. There's no judgment in the listening. There's just that, like I said, curiosity and compassion. I've committed to let my kids make mistakes. Not everybody does this. I actively chose, I'm going to let my kids fail. And boy, did they do, have they done. They have failed and failed and failed. I mean, when they were littler, way less failing, but it prepared us possibly for some of the bigger doozies that we had in adolescence. And I just let them make mistakes and then let them fix their mistakes. So that's the second part of it. I have written here, I commit to teaching you how to admit when you are wrong and letting you fix your mistakes. I wanted my kids to not just use blame as an excuse, like, well, you didn't tell me, or it's your fault, or, I did it because you didn't do that. I just was like, nope, that's on you. What part is yours? I'd own my part if there was any part of it. And then I'd say, okay, so how are you going to fix it? You made a mistake, no problem. Mistakes are normal. And I'd give them the opportunity to fix the mistake because I know that feels really good. Okay, last one. I am committed to seeing you as you are. So that seeing you, it's almost, I think now if I would have written this, I would say accept you as you are. That's so important for a lot of the parents I work with. That's one of the things we work on is like parenting the kid in front of you, right? Not the one you wish you had or the one you're afraid they'll become. Where's your kid right now? Let's meet them where they are. But the second part I have written here is see you as you are, allow you to change. I never wanted to pigeonhole, is that the word, my kids and saying, oh, you're an extrovert, or you're friendly, or you're grumpy, or you're selfish, or you're whatever behavior, right? You're a stingy kid or something like that. I would say, wow, looks like you don't want to share right now. Let's talk about that. I'm curious. Tell me more. What's going on? Or I'd make a guess. Makes sense you wouldn't want to share because you love your toys and you probably worry that you're not going to get them back. That makes sense. Of course you're worried. You don't know. You want to try it? See what happens? So I would meet my children where they are and not judge their behavior, just kind of observe it, listen to what's going on with curiosity and compassion. But then the second part is allowing them to change, assuming you are going to become a person who is very generous. I hold these high values. If I had like a family value list, which I don't right now, maybe I'll do one. But if I had a family value, set of values, it would definitely be generosity because that's something that's really important to my husband and I. We're very generous. We're very kind. We're very loving. We're very open, right? So we have all these values and I just trust my children are going to catch those values and that they're going to be instilled in them. That even if it doesn't happen on my timeline, I allow them to change. I trust they're going to become whoever they're meant to be. Okay. Isn't that cool? That's the Calm Mama Manifesto. I love this. I still look at it, to be honest with you, quite frequently because it's really important to me to remember what my values are as a parent. Now, one thing I noticed, I said I would tell you, like, Easter egg, here it is, of what was missing. And you know what I did not commit to was holding my kids to a high standard. And I wish I would have. I wish I would have committed because I think I thought it was going to happen inevitably because I have really high standards and my husband has really high standards, but I didn't really hold my kids to the standards I hold myself to. And probably because I was trying to be so gracious and so loving and so compassionate, but I didn't expect I don't even want to say expect the best of them, but anyway, hold you to a high standard is probably what I would write today. And I didn't. And I don't think my kids are standardless or anything, but I think I could have done better at holding them accountable and having a better work ethic, work habits. So that's, revisionist history, revisionist parenting. I'm not going to do too much of that, but it's just something I noticed. I was like, that's a gap in maybe my parenting over the years. And also, and maybe it's a gap in my kids' lives and they're learning it. They're figuring out their own standards. Anyway, that's interesting. The whole reflecting back on parenting and maybe what I would have changed, that's a fascinating conversation. I don't know if you guys want me to talk about that on the podcast, but I don't even know if I can yet. I'm just still processing it for myself. But it's been very interesting as the boys are gone and out of the house and I have more time to think about where are we? What happened? How'd it go? That kind of thing. Okay, I'm derailing. How do you do this for yourself? That's what I want to give you is some tools of how to make your own manifesto. Like I said, you can download mine. You can copy it for sure. I made it on Canva. So if you're really interested, we can give you the Canva link so that you can make your own, using my model and make your own. Connect with me if you want that. Okay, here's your prompts. Okay, here's your action steps. The first thing you could try is just making a list of 10 things that you are committed to as a parent. Just I'm committed to these 10 things. I think I have 16. So anywhere between 10 to 20 things that you're committed to as a parent. Now, if you aren't sure what to write, here's some questions you can ask yourself, and these will help get you to those commitments. One is, what's important for me to model for my kids? When your kids grow up, you want them to be what type of people? So what do you need to model to get them there? So taking care of myself, respecting myself, modeling work, play, and rest, listening, things like that. Those are sort of my values showing up in I want to model these things for my kids. Here's the next question. what kind of parent did you need or want? Like, what are some gaps that you reflect on with the way you were parented that you wish your parents would have done? That's a really good way for you to see, like, oh, that's what you're committed to. The things you want to do differently from your parents, those are your commitments. Flip side, things you love that your parents did. My mom, honestly, she 100%, for one, she thought I was amazing. So she just thought I was like the best thing ever. So that was super cool to have somebody who just thinks you're amazing. So I just had that in me. That's a cool thing to give to your kids. And the other thing is that I felt her unconditional love. Like I felt like I could never, ever do anything to lose that. So that was really beautiful. So that was my demonstrating love without condition. That's like an homage to my mom. And I only talk about my mom because I didn't have a relationship with my dad. He abandoned our family when I was 5 or 6. I don't know how old right now. I can't remember. And I went into reunion with him at the age of 30. So I didn't speak to him for most of my childhood and young adult life, and then reconnected at the age of 30 after I had kids already. So totally different experience with him. You want to see what kind of parent did you need or want? Or what kind of parent had your parents show up? Another question you could just ask, be like, what kind of parent do I want to be? I want to be the type of person I want to be the type of mom I want to be the type of parent that, right? Do you just get to write out, what do you want? Who do you want to be? Write it out. Make a list. And then another prompt could be, what kind of parent does my kid need me to be? So you could start with like, my child needs me to be, or to do, or to say, whatever that is, and then fill that out. And you can kind of build up your manifesto by using these prompts. Okay. I am glad I had a chance to do this episode because it's been on my mind for a long time. And I realized I've never done an episode where I lay out like the values, that the commitments we have as moms, right? Like I think I kind of thought it didn't need to be said, but then of course I say it when I work in my programs. So I wanted to just have this episode where we talked about it, and we talked about the Calm Mama Manifesto. If you have any questions at all, please, of course, if you're on the newsletter, reply to the email. That goes right to my inbox, to be honest, and I just reply right away. If you need anything, like you can't get the download working or whatever, my team, it gets that inbox too, so they'll reply and help you. And or you can message me on Instagram, book a discovery call, a consultation. All that is available to you. So yeah. I'd love to see your list. If you're also like, you kind of want to share them with me, I'd love to see them as well. I'm sharing mine, and I don't know, curious to see what yours is all about, what your commitments are. Okay, great job. Heavy work, but I think it's worthwhile. Yeah, if you don't do it, that's fine too. Like don't put this on your list if it's not something you need. You can just start thinking about it, to be honest. Like, what am I committed to? Just let that go in your brain, and it'll kind of worm its way into your heart and into your values, which is so cool. That's how mindset works, just small shifts. All right, mamas, I hope you have a great week, and I will talk to you next time. Hey, mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do 2 things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.